recording started on this. Well, guys, welcome to week 3. I mean, it just seems like yesterday that I said, hello, I'm Dr. Stedman. And here we are already into week 3. This summer will be gone literally before. Brandon's got them on. He just showed me. Literally, it's just, I mean, it's just going by too fast, really. But I guess not for you, but it is for Dr. Revis and me. But I just want to say again, it's just an honor. Dr. Revis and I were talking about you guys. It was probably, when was it, Dr. Revis? Saturday we talked. We talked, and you know, it's just, and we don't know you that well, but we know students, and you're a tight group, and I think y'all have been pretty tight as a cohort from the very beginning. I can tell. I think you support each other, and you got each other's backs, and it's obvious. It's obvious. I think I would have enjoyed this group from the very beginning, Dr. Revis, if I had had that opportunity. But Dr. Revis, you got anything you want to say?
Well, not other than welcome to week 3. And again, you guys, I look forward to this meeting. I never know what kind of accessories you're going to come on with, so it makes it a lot of fun. So keep the surprises coming.
Yeah, I look forward to it as well. Let's talk about just for what tonight is going to look like. I'm going to well, let me share my screen, and then this will. Let me pull this up. Okay. Okay, this is basically what tonight is going to look like. And this, you can find this under class 3 in Blackboard. We're going to in a minute, I'll just do a weekly comments about assignment 2, and then I've asked some of you to be prepared to briefly talk about, you know, some of the things that you shared yourself in assignment 2. We're going to just a reminder again. I left this in here on purpose because these are the collaborative weekly assignments where you've got to work with groups, or either it's an assignment that's going to take a little more of your time. So you need to be aware of it, and you need to plan accordingly with that. A few of you have already worked through 3 or 4 assignments your head, so that gives you a chance to work more diligently on these assignments. I'll ask you in just a few minutes, do you have any questions about SIOP task 1? I'm not going to go over the entire thing again, and then I'm going to introduce task 2, and we'll have some questions and answers after that. But then I want to spend some time tonight just talking about these 2 terms that you've heard a lot as a teacher, but you have visited this already in some of the work that you've done previously in some of your other classes, but talking about the vision and the mission of a school. Dr. Revis is going to actually lead you in the Lewin Leadership Style Quiz, and we'll have a discussion about that. And then if she's got any questions about or any comments about task stream, she will share at that time. And then, you know, we'll end with any questions that you may have as well. So that's what this evening's going to look like. With that in mind, let's talk about, I'm going to stop my share because I want us to talk. In looking at assignment 2, and Dr. Revis, again, I was very pleased with the thought and the reflection that went into assignment 2. Remember, I told you that a lot of what you do in this class is going to be really a reflection of yourself personally, as you look at yourself, your personal experiences, and relate all that to where you are now, and the direction that you're going into school leadership and administration. So with that in mind, Tracy, I'll start with you. Tracy White, in her response, she talked about beginning teachers. And Tracy, if you would share again some of the comments that you made, just again, recap what assignment 2 was about and then lead into what you talked about with beginning teachers.
Okay. Well, we were, to read the first 3 chapters basically of that book and find something that resonated with us and discuss it. And what resonated with me the most was that section about first year teachers. And I had explained in my writing that I went into it thinking that because I was older, I graduated college. I mean, I got my bachelor's degree when I was 40 years old. And it was 15 years ago, and I still think about my first year because I thought that all this wisdom and maturity that I had would, help me in my first year, and it meant nothing. I walked into my first classroom, got the key, opened the door, and there were 12 desks, 2 of which were broken. There was no teacher desk. There was no teacher chair. There's not a stapler, a piece of tape, a paper clip, nothing. And I really struggled, even though I had worked and this was my second career, and I'd worked in the office as a bookkeeper secretary. So I was familiar with how schools worked and knew the role, the games. And dang, it was tough. It was tough. It was the sink or swim, like it said in our text. I fortunately had a next door teacher that took me under her wing, and I said in the paper that I cried. I all through my undergraduate, I said I would never cry in a classroom. I will never ever cry in a classroom. And that first year I cried in my classroom with students in the room. It was awful. But she took me under her wing, and by year 2, second semester, I'd caught my stride, and it turned out great, and here I am still in education 15 years later, but it was not an easy road that first year.
Okay, Tracy, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Going into administration,
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about your role as a principal, assistant principal, how has that experience? How would that experience make you look at things differently as a principal?
Well, first of all, I'd make sure we had some kind of program in place. That was a different district that I'm at now. And I think I also mentioned in my paper that the district where I am now has a 3-year beginner teacher program.
Right, you did mention that.
I did not have a mentor that first year. I don't know why, but I did not. And I would make sure that strong veteran teachers were paired with new teachers. Make sure there's some type of, like I said, make sure there's some type of program. I would check on them personally. I also said in my writing that even now I'm not anyone's mentor, and I'm not in an administrative position. But when there's a new teacher in our school, I check on them. I go and stick my head in the door and check on them to make sure they're okay. They may not need my help, but it might be one time that they're about to break down, and I stick my head in the door and I can assist them in some way. Just support for those first few years. It's not easy. We've all been there, and it's not easy.
Okay, everybody give Tracy a thumbs up. Great response, Tracy. We appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. Kendall Doyle, she talked about, hers was, I think you dealt with the effective school, dealing with the vision, mission, and the school culture. Kendall, share with us briefly some of the thoughts that you had.
Well, I am being pushed into the position rather quickly. So I have received an assistant principal job next school year starting August 1st.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It has been very hard because I'm finishing out the year teaching. Of course, we're still in classes, but we're down one assistant principal. So we have a mentor in the building. He actually taught me and was my principal when I was in school, and he's been coming to me and pushing me to go ahead and start thinking about changes that I need to make to make the school more effective. He stated that the school would not be successful in the first year, maybe not in the second year, but it could still be effective. And his first question to me was, what would you change to make it an effective school? And I told him the culture, that I felt like if the culture changed, that would be a change in the students and the mindsets of the teachers. And that's really what I talked about in my paper, and then just talked about all the visions that I had, talked about how right now it's like we hear conversations amongst teachers. I'm a very analytical person, so I sit back and I listen and I watch before I make decisions. And so I can just hear how some of the teachers are feeling like elected teachers are very separate from core teachers. They don't have the same responsibilities. So it's causing like a division in our school. So that's some of the things that I want to change. And that's just what I talked about, things that I want to implement. I am a math teacher and I have high scores at my school. So I did say that I wanted to be one of those administrators where I'm not asking my teachers to do, but I'm actually showing them how to do. So I wanted to create a vertical alignment PLC and be in it with them, because that section talked about the inputs and then getting the outputs and things like that. So that's what I talked about in my paper.
Way to go, Kendall. We're proud of you. Great job. Great job. Okay, Brandon. Brandon, are you with us now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brandon, share with us some of your thoughts from this assignment.
Mine is also with the vision as an effective school as well. And I kind of chose some of the things that talked about in chapter 3. It talked about some of the things that they thought was effective in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But how I feel COVID has like changed all of that, just kind of the complete landscape of education. And I feel kind of similar to what Kendall was talking about was a culture, but I think it begins with relationships and establishing strong relationships with those working like with you. I'm real big on in my school building, talking to the custodians, the cafeteria workers, the finance people. I mean, because these are the people who make my school operate through things that's unseen to people who, unless they're truly paying attention to it. But building those relationships, like I love to see my principal in the hallway first thing in the morning, greeting all the students, all the teachers, just everyone, creating that positive energy. I'm a big relationship guy, and I think energy is contagious. And if I have that positive energy flowing throughout my school building, the effectiveness will be a domino effect.
Oh, that is powerful, Brandon. Great job. Great job. You know what, Dr. Revis, I think I could start a school system or run a school system and hire all these to work for me. I would love that. That would be great.
That would be a strong administrative team right there.
That is great. Powerful. Nazmal, you focused on moral purpose and ineffective schools. Talk about some of the key points that you pointed out in your writing.
Supervision and moral purpose. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when I looked at Feeney Tyler School and Germondo Elementary School, I was thinking of it from an administrator's lens, or as I thought I did. But initially, I realized that I was coming to the conclusion too early. And upon reading about it, and also Progress Middle School, I realized that as an effective administrator, I have to look at the small details. I have to have a true holistic lens. I can't simply just look at one school and the way it works and think, okay, this is going to be effective and this school is going to provide, better test results, and that school is going to provide, better, climate in terms of like how happy people feel. And so I've learned that in order to, fulfill the moral purpose of bringing education to everybody, in order to fulfill the moral purpose of having, an equal opportunity for everyone, to have clear goals, to have collaborative planning. These are all the things we need to get there. But really how we do it is having that attention to detail, is having, a holistic perspective. And what I've learned is we tend to kind of have a narrow mindset and we realize that, okay, so these are the goals, and we're going to achieve this, but the how is what we tend to overlook. We tend to overlook how we're going to get to those goals, and also realizing that those goals can be achieved in multiple different ways. And we have to forget that the one size fits all idea, should be thrown out. We should look at individualizing. We should look at using data to drive instruction, but how would you use data to drive instruction? How would you bring the experts in your building? How do you empower people in your building to make change? And I think that one of the things I learned about really in terms of moral purpose is it's not just me, it's about the community. It's about all the stakeholders in school. It's about, everyone in school. And Brandon really made a great point in terms of reflecting on all the people in the building. And I think that, having not a rigid atmosphere, but a place where everyone knows what the clear goals are and how we're going to get there. And if we're not, what are we going to do? What are the next steps? Continuous reflection is going to be essential.
Everybody give him Nazmal a thumbs up. Nazmal, it sounds like you could get on the speaking circuit somewhere. Great job. And then I think one more, I don't know if I've caught him, Joshua Rodriguez. Did I catch you at a bad time? If I did, I can get you next week, or I don't know.
I mean, I could share. Yeah, I have a game, but I'm supposed to have two other coaches here. They're not here yet, so I may actually have to hop off. I'm hoping
Well, listen,
I don't.
if you do,
But I got time right now. I
go
can
ahead.
share right now. You want
Go
me to?
ahead.
We've
Go ahead,
got 10,
Josh.
15 minutes before it starts.
Okay.
I wrote on morals and supervision as well. And in my paper, I have wrote about, I've been at the same school. My first year, I started at 2 schools. I was split between 2, but and then I've been at the same school since my second year. And I've had, I think I've had 3 principals and about 5 or 6 assistant principals. And through that time, I've really seen what to do and what not to do. They've just been drastic in everything, and how they handle stuff. And I made mention of 2, talking about drastic changes. I made mention of two examples, and one in response to a scheduling decision that she had made for students, and it was concerning what resources to give them and how to do the resources sort of thing. She said, well, it may have been better. Her actual response was, it may have been better to do this with the kids, but it was easier for me to do it this way. So she just didn't want to go that extra mile or that extra effort to put the kids in the resources that they could have been a part of. And in my opinion, neglected them of opportunities they could have had. And for me, that was morally wrong, in my opinion. And then the other side of that, I've been a part of a principal on administration who we had a kid whose mom was fighting cancer, and they had an 8th grade trip coming up, and the principal paid for that student to attend that trip out of her own money. She didn't want it to come out of the grade level account. She had elected to do that out of her own money. And so to me, morally, that speaks volumes of who she was as a character. And so my paper was mainly about, or my response was mainly about who we are as individuals and how we treat people as individuals really has a impact on the success of our school and the success of our administration. And I ended up with that I really hope to be an administrator who leads democratically. So all of us read the text, hopefully, and that meaning the collegial. I've never been a part of what they describe as a collegial school that was in the text. And so that would be my desire, is to lead that way, but also form those relationships and let who I am be guided, or be exemplary when I'm dealing with other people, and make sure that I have a positive impact. We have the impact no matter what. It could be negative, it could be positive, but we have the impact no matter what. And I hope that I choose and lead in a way that's positively impacting people. And I'll leave you with this, because I'm a minister, and so I say this: we can't talk about Christ openly in school, but my life can be the light without me saying a word about Christ. And that's the way I try to live my life, honestly. And I hope that's how to try to lead. And I'll end you with this too. I took that little leadership quiz that was on our session for this week. And so I do a lot of leadership, like I said, in church, out here at the ball field. That's why I'm always out here. I know I got kids, but I run it out here. And so I just went honestly how I do things, how I run my board meetings, how I run my programs that I'm a part of right now. And so far, I'm successful at being a democratic style leader. So I'm hoping that's how I carry out into the administration field when I get a job. And so that's what I was writing about.
And can everybody say amen to Joshua?
Amen.
Great job, Joshua. That didn't
Amen.
surprise me. You shared some things with me that kind of goes with some of the things I was thinking. So you validated those thoughts tonight. So
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Joshua.
I really may have to jump off because my
That's
coaches should have been here 20 minutes ago and they are not. I don't know where they're at.
That's okay. Go win the game.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Is there anybody else? And like I said, every week I will choose others or whatever. But if there's anybody else that I haven't called on and something has resonated with this assignment with you, then by all means, I'm not leaving you out. You know, before we move on, is there anything else that anybody would like to share? Anything at this point? Great job. And I'm going to tell you, Dr. Revis, I am impressed. They're reading, and it's obvious when they speak, it's obvious that they have read. Like I said, I could take all of you on the circuit now. This is a great group. Anyway, let me share my screen again, and let's while I'm pulling this up, here it is. While I'm pulling this up, just a reminder, your week 3 assignment, and this is week 3 is your first case study. I will say that Josh Justice and Melissa have already completed theirs, did a great job. But just remember that give it the time that you need, all of you, give it the time that you need, and thoroughly talk about that case study. And I like the fact, and I'll go ahead and say this, I like the fact that Melissa and Josh did a great job reflecting back on the things that they had learned when they were involved in school law. A lot of that came out, and Dr. Lamb would be very, very proud of the fact that you were able to point out a lot of great things, and it was obvious that you had paid attention during that class and that you had learned a lot. So all of you, make sure that you speak law and policy as you are you're talking about this case study. As we move forward tonight with your evidence 6 work, the PSYOP, do you have any questions of Dr. Revis and me at this time about the work that you're doing with task 1? Before we go on, I need to know, is there anything that I need to clear up about task 1 at this time?
Dr. Stebbin, I have a question.
Sure, Josh.
With task 1, in the past, we have submitted our stuff to our clinical coach for revision, and then they send it back to us. We made those revisions, cleaned it up before we submitted it to our course instructor. The first week, you said that you would be the one handling that. I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to. So when I submit my task 1, it comes straight to you, correct?
Yeah, you can send it to the discussion board for me, or send not to discussion, send it for me to review. However, if you have questions that Dr. Revis, she's welcome, you're welcome to go through her. Just don't do it, if it's due the night, Sunday night, give her plenty of time that she can, because she's very knowledgeable of this as well. But I do it differently. I like to read it, and there's no sense in delaying the process, it's going to come to me anyway. So
Okay.
at this stage, especially in 605, where you're finishing up and the time is, we've got just the 10 weeks to do it in, it just works much better this way with us. Dr. Revis is available, but send it to me. And if I see something needs changing, I'm not going to let you do a final submission until I know it's right anyway.
Will
Okay,
we have
I've
an
ahead.
opportunity to revise any of the suggestions that you have and resubmit?
Absolutely. You're going to
Okay.
submit it until it's right.
Okay.
If you need that, when you do a final submission, it's going to be as perfect as I can think it's perfect. So, I don't think it's going to take a lot of submissions. It may take one or two. And then if I see that any of you are struggling in any area, and it's not a sign of weakness, it's just that sometimes it's just that when somebody else can say something differently than I can say it, and you can get an understanding of it if I'm not saying it in a way that you might not understand it. So I may say, let's let Dr. Revis talk with you about this. And especially if it's an area where I think that there might be an issue, I would talk to you personally about it. And then I would make arrangements for Dr. Revis to work with you as well. We're going to make sure that you're fine. So don't you worry about.
Thank you.
You are welcome, Josh. And you got your question answered last week about CTE test scores and then putting the others in there. Melissa shared that with you, right? I think you had, okay, good. Okay, any questions about the school data project? Everybody knows what direction you're going in. Okay, I would love to, soon I need to be seeing some task ones for me to review. Okay, so just make a focus on that and make sure that in the very near future that that you're at a place where you can send me task one to begin looking at. Okay. Okay, let's look at task 2. Task 2 basically is the Teacher Working Condition Survey Analysis Project in North Carolina, or the Advanced Ed Cognia project in South Carolina, or whatever equates to the Teacher Working Condition Survey in South Carolina. So whatever you're using, I know South Carolina, it varies from some of the districts. So whatever you're using, that's what this should be. And in your previous work that you mainly focused on 5 of those areas, which I'll point out again in this assignment. Let's look at again what the directions tell you to do. In task 2 of the SIOP, you are going to continue leading your team of professional educators in an analysis of the elements of the Teacher Working Condition Survey in North Carolina, or Advanced Ed in South Carolina, and or other data that are used by the school improvement team that will assist in drafting, monitoring, and revising the existing school improvement plan. Now, remember in the past, and some of your previous courses, you've already worked with this. So you're going to go back and you're going to, and again, it's at the bottom. I'll show you where you can go find this. But you're going to go back and you're going to extract that work that you've already done, and you're going to look at it. However, a lot can change over the course of a year's time. And as it relates to the Teacher Working Condition Survey, some of you have talked about the multiple administrators that you've had at your school. Well, when the Teacher Working Condition Survey was done, you could have had one administrator then, you could have another one now. And I think it's like Stormy and Jasmine said at their school, how things are so different now with the administration they have now. So probably when the previous whatever was done in South Carolina was administered, I bet you the results probably weren't too favorable. But if this new administration is doing with the job that they're saying that they're doing, I bet you that if something was administered now, that there would be a vast difference. Wouldn't you, Dr. Revis? Based on so those are the things that you've got to look at, and it may be that you even have to do, you know, in looking at this, if you think that things are vastly different, you may want to do take some of the surveys that you have done. You may want to do a resurvey, you know, to get the best qualitative results that you can get, you know, at this point. But what you're going to do is you will be leading and providing data that will be presented to your administration, school improvement team, or an audience of educators at your school in an effort for the school improvement team and administration to see a need to implement the recommended changes. It's almost like you're an attorney, you're a lawyer presenting a case, and you're presenting the facts, and you've got to convince them. And you've got to know what you know. You've got to have valid information, and you've got to be able to support what you say. So what you're doing now, you're getting ready for that final big presentation. And you're putting everything, again, like I said last week, you're taking all that you've done and you're pulling it together. Now, you may not need everything that you've done. You've got to decide, what do I need from what I've done? And if what you extract is not everything that you need, then you've got to add to whatever it is that you need as well. So you've got a lot of it done, but there may be a need to do some additional work as it relates to this assignment as well. You're going to create a visual display that identifies data sources and clearly identifies specific findings from each of the sources. Some of those visuals you've already done. If you've got them, pull them to task 6. Again, remember, it's not just a copy and paste. You copy and paste what you need, and there must be a rhyme or reason why it's there, and then it must transition, it must flow, it must be understandable, it must all relate to what you're being asked to do. The teacher working condition survey analysis project or advanced ed project will include, but not limited to, the following: the visual display outlined in the task 2 directions, video evidence that findings were presented to peers. The peers could be any combination of your PLC, school improvement team, administration, and any available staff from your school. Again, this will, and I said more than likely have to be done via Zoom presentation. That's not necessarily the case now. This was whenever everything was virtual. However, if there was a need for it to be done via Zoom, that is an option that you have if it comes to that. Especially with school ending and people leaving, you may have to pull some people together via Zoom because they're not at school anymore during the summer. So, you know, that is an option for you. And then a reflection on the usefulness of the display as it relates to student achievement and school goal attainment. Now, this is where the following evidences are where you can find information for task 2 that may have already been completed. All of the CAP, task 1 through 4, everything in the CAP is applicable to this. But that doesn't mean you just copy and paste all of the CAP. You pull from it what is applicable to what you need, and then add more if you need to. And then go to the skip, task 1, prompt 2. This is where you will find some additional information. Now, what I'm going to do now, and if you, like I said last week, if you tell on me, I won't do it anymore. I'm going to show you a task 2 that was completed last summer. This goes back to, let me see, goes back to, got to get down to it. Dr. Revis, anything while I'm getting there? Anything you need to say?
One thing I would just say as an evaluator, make sure you don't forget that last little piece there about your reflection, because the evaluators will look for that in your task 2.
It's going to take me a second because she had a lot, and she had combined task 1 and 2 when I went and pulled this. I went and pulled it out of my artifacts. Okay, almost there. But it's worth waiting because I think it gives you an understanding of, a better understanding. Here it is. Okay, let's go. Now, this is Michelle when she started out. Again, she briefly went into a narrative explaining, something about what task 2 was about. Teacher effectiveness and retention are keys to student success. Through the North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey, the collective voices of educators are, and then she went on to talk about that. The state's Teacher Working Conditions Survey is, she went on and talked about that. I will focus on empowerment, leadership, resources, facilities, and time. Remember, those are the 5 that you've already had to focus on. But she is, all she's doing is leading. This is that transition, leading to the work that she possibly will go and find and be able to copy and paste some of it. But she's given just great narrative lead in that without just putting something there and not knowing why it's there. Then she listed, she took each of those 5 areas and she had some visual information about empowerment, then she talked about it. And then she went on, this is actually the survey results from the 2020 North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey in the area of empowerment. And again, this is information that you should already have somewhere already done. She took each of those 5 areas and did the very same thing. And that goes into this part. Okay. And then she concluded, after those 5 areas, talking about teacher conditions in schools are important for many reasons. She just had some, just didn't stop. She concluded with, why there was a focus on that area. And she further talked about the purpose and some of the results and the value of the Teacher Working Conditions Survey. She talked about the participants in this survey, which would be she's listed here people that she's working with, the school improvement team members, the administration. And look what she did. She did a re-survey of the staff. There was a reason for it. She says, I met with the PSYOP team participants and we utilized the Teacher Working Conditions Survey data to develop the needs assessment in the area of those 5 areas. Our PSYOP team looked at the results of the 2020 survey and chose 2 of the lowest areas in each category to create a Google survey to gain insight on teachers' current feelings. Notice that word, current feelings. This was in 2020, and I know that it was recently done, but you don't have those results back yet. So, she just felt there was a need. And again, I go back to Stormy and Jasmine again. There would be a reason, possibly a reason why they would want to do a resurvey, because they've got new administration based on whatever was done a year or two ago. And then this is the results of the resurvey. The areas that they chose, they went back and they talked about. They went back and talked about some areas again based on the resurvey. These are a set of recommendations based on the results. The candidate led the team into a set of recommendations. And these are things that you're going to talk with your administration and with your school improvement team about, because again, remember, your job is to convince them that there is a need to make some changes in the existing school improvement plan. And again, you're constantly refocusing on those 5 areas over and over and over again. That is the major focus here, is to consistently look at those areas. This is in the resurvey. There's some qualitative. They actually interviewed the staff. They did some qualitative work there. There can be a focus group. And remember, with a focus group, you can do them face-to-face, you can do them virtually. It doesn't matter. A focus group can be 3 or 4 people, 5 people. It can be your PLC team that you're working with. And then I want you to notice she's still focusing on bringing student achievement into the formula as it relates to everything that she's doing. Student and staff cultural diversity. All of this you've got in the work that you've done. I really like this, Dr. Ravis, figure 34. I want you to look. She pulled each of those areas and she did a chart with them. Criteria from the North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey. These were the results, the resurvey results. These were the interview questions, and these were the recommendations. She took all that she had talked about up there and she put it into something that could be easily looked at and followed. I really like figure 34 here. She did that with, then look here, the presentation to the administration. Talked about the vision, the vision, the mission of the school. Again, most of this work has already been done in previous work. You've just got to decide where it fits in with this assignment, with this task, how much you're going to use, how much you're not going to use, and if there's anything else that you need to include that you may not have. Michelle was very, very, very thorough, as you can see. Again, lots of recommendations. Again, this is great because it's leading to your final action plans that you're going to be doing and presenting. She's leading to all of that. And again, it's a lot, but look at there. She's pulled some more, even with the cultural part. Look what she's done. She's tied that into each of these areas as well. But okay, that's a lot, I know, a lot. But what questions would you have? Just basically looking at an overview of what those expectations are at this time.
I think I have a simple question.
Okay.
We have this bulletin board that is as soon as you walk in our school at the main office, and it has super old data on it. And for years, we've been asking administration if we could redo the board because it's very old, like 2018 old. And they said we have to have a data bulletin board, so it's, got to stay. So Jasmine and I were talking, would that be okay as a visual to redo that board with new data? Or do you want a more interactive sort of visual.
Dr. Revis, I think that there's some validity in what she's saying. I mean, Stormy, it's the same information.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to, the thing is, it's just not going to be in a book somewhere sitting on a shelf. You've got it where it can clearly be seen by teacher, staff, stakeholders that walk into the building.
Right.
So, I think that, part of your plan, and when you can present, is that, you and Jasmine both, that can be a part of your plan. And, as you're speaking with your team and with your administration, I say yes. Dr. Revis, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're probably talking about the student achievement data piece, right?
Yeah. It's basically, it's a big old chart really, and it's all of our EOCs. But so yeah, we would have to, do some research and get the new numbers and, create it. So yeah,
Right.
definitely student achievement based. But like Dr. Stedman said, it is going to be visible by all stakeholders. It is right at our main office.
And
Yeah, I think that would be fine if you could
Yeah,
take a
and-
picture of it and put it in.
Yeah. Okay.
And the thing is, it may be something that you can put on paper right now. And this is what we're going to do, and that could be a part of your presentation. And it could be something that the two of you, even after the class is over with, that you can prepare and have by the time school starts back in the fall. You may not be able to do it all now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know what you can and can't do, but you could actually, you and Jasmine could put that on paper and say, this is what we want it to look like. And that could be your visual in the work that you have to turn in, and you turn it into that actual bulletin board or that Blackboard visual
Okay.
at a later date. Does that make
Yes, sir.
sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just looked at the picture I took of it, and it was a comparison of 2015 to 2018.
So that is pretty obsolete now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was doing on my phone. We took a picture of it to make sure, but yeah, that was the years.
Yeah, I think y'all are onto something though. That's good. That's good. Libby, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. So I'm just wondering, is it okay if we do our visual display as a graphic organizer in a table in our paper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that
So
works.
what Stormy was saying, like that is like something extra to do.
Yes, that will
Okay,
work.
I just want to make sure, because
yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, usually, I understand visual display. I can see how that would seem like you want to have an actual concrete visual display, but I guess in my brain, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that in such a nice way when I want to be able to put it down on my, in a table in my paper, and then
Right.
as something extra,
Right.
my team can make that actual concrete display. All right.
Absolutely. And the thing is, remember, all of you, every one of you are different, but you're really different at this stage. It's your evidence 6. So I would say that evidence 6 is not going to Jasmine's and Stormy's may look a little bit alike because they're at the same school. But I would say all of you are going to have differences in what you do, with the work that you'll be submitting. So I wouldn't think that any two would be exactly alike. So that's okay.
And don't forget that you're going to have a visual display when you make your presentation to your team. So you'll have something in the narrative and then also something in your presentation.
Right.
It can be the same thing that you're just presenting in a slide deck or whatever.
Right. This is really a great opportunity to showcase yourself when you're doing these presentations as well. And you never know who's looking at you. I I mean, look at Kendall. You never know. Is this enough that you know how to at least get started? And then by next week, if you've got questions, you can call me before next week if you need it. But especially by next week, you know at least how to get started with things. Does this help? Okay. Dr. Revis, I'm going to, this was great, but we're going to conclude with, I'm going to hold off on my PowerPoint that I was going to talk about because I want us to talk about the quiz. Some of them may have taken it already, and if they did, then, you know, we can, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to just let you take it from here.
Dr. Stebbin, I had a quick question first.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
sorry.
Sure.
I
I'm sorry.
think that I might have missed the mark a little on task 2 in terms of my visuals. I just recently met with the SIT team, and we went over our current school improvement plan in terms of the results from the teacher working condition survey, but my visual was just the current actions that we have for every indicator. I didn't necessarily create something new. So would I have to go back and create something new? And we talked about this was our score for leadership, and this is the goal that we have to work toward getting a higher score. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. What you've done is right. As you analyze it, creating something new will be pretty much based on where you are and what your findings are, what your results are. It may or may not be necessary. And if you don't know for sure, just pick up the phone, call me one day, and after you look at it, and we can talk about it, and I can lead you from that if you feel like there's a need to go a step further with that. Okay. But
Okay, thank you.
I feel sure that you're probably in the right direction, but I don't want any question marks there for you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anything else before Dr. Revis? Okay, Dr. Revis.
Okay, if you'll stop your share, I will screen
Oh.
share.
Okay,
And-
I thought I did stop share. I did.
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't try.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's see if I still have. Can you see my screen?
yes.
Okay, what I would like for everybody to do is just to go ahead and go to your class session 3. And we're going to look at the Lewin Leadership Style Quiz. And if you've already done it, I know Joshua said he'd already done it. I want us to take a few minutes to do that. So let me give you a minute or two for you to get into Blackboard. And this is under class session 3.
If you haven't done it, it literally does not take very long at all. I retook it myself this weekend.
Can you give me a thumbs up when you've gotten to that screen? Okay, great. Go ahead and open it up. And then I want you to take it. It only takes 2 or 3 minutes tops. But I want you to take it. I'm going to take it again too.
I am too.
And And when you finish, if you could just raise your hand so I'll know, virtual hand, so I will know.
Dr. Revis, they've started putting in the chat box their results.
Oh,
what
okay,
it's
you can do
saying. So,
that. Yeah, go ahead and
yeah.
just do that. And I think all of us hope we are a democratic leader because we want to accept input from groups of people, particularly groups of people who are very knowledgeable about whatever decision or whatever issue you're looking at or problem you're trying to solve. And we always want to involve people who are going to be implementing whatever decision you're making. I think it promotes buy-in, and we know that, but I also want you to also value that sometimes you're going to use other leadership styles. You're not always going to be a democratic leader. And so I want to look at these 3 leadership styles and about the pros and cons of each, if we could do that. So at the bottom, it pops up. You got democratic leader. I got that too. And that's good that you got that. That's the way we want to operate the majority of the time. But let's look at the authoritarian style or autocratic leadership. You know, we typically think of that type of leadership as when somebody is the authoritarian who is there making all the decisions and takes very little input and almost like a dictator. But guys, there is a time and place for that kind of leadership. Here are the benefits. Allows for quick decision making, especially in stress-filled situations. Offers a clear chain of command or oversight. Works well where strong directive leadership is needed. You know, when we think about sometimes when we're operating in crises, we don't have time to bring a group of people together to decide what we're going to do. That's when the authoritarian leadership is beneficial. You don't operate that way all the time, but trust me, there will be sometimes, particularly in stress-filled situations, where you as the leader may have to make that decision and move on. Sometimes when you find yourself in a school that has been under a very laissez-faire leadership style leader, sometimes you may have to be more authoritarian to pull things back together for a little while. Anyway, the drawbacks are it discourages group input. If you use it long term, it's going to hurt morale and lead to resentment. And it ignores or impairs those creative solutions and the expertise that you as a leader can gain from other people in your organization. I don't even like to say the word subordinates. That word's not in my vocabulary, but the other people on your team, it ignores their contributions and it keeps them from sharing those contributions to others. Again, there are some benefits. Providing direction, it can relieve pressure, and it can offer some structure. So I just wanted to share that with you so you'll know that it's not always bad to have that autocratic leadership style. There are times when it's okay to do that, and even times when it's necessary. Excuse me. So let's look at the democratic style. I think that's where everybody landed. And it's also known as the participative leadership or shared leadership style. And some pros and cons here. You're going to generate more ideas and creative solutions because you're bringing groups together. You can gain and garner group member commitment. Again, having input really does garner that commitment to the process or to the goal. Your productivity will go up and improve group morale. But here are the cons. Communication failures. There still needs to be outlined strong lines of communication, how we're going to communicate to people in the group and how we're going to communicate to people outside of that circle of decision makers who are looking at this particular problem or this solution. Sometimes you will pull together, hopefully, you're going to pull together teams who have where there's some strong leadership there. But man, if you have for example, third grade team and all of them are inexperienced teachers, it's going to be very difficult for them to work in this type of leadership style. You may have to make sure that you're building your grade level teams so that you've got some really good leaders in those teams. Many times in a group situation, individual opinions kind of get overridden or overlooked or maybe not even expressed. So you have to make sure that when you're in that collaborative setting, that you are giving people opportunity for their voice to be heard. And potential security issues. I think that's one of the norms that you need to set when you bring groups of teachers together, is to make sure that teachers understand that what kind of information needs to be held confidential and what information can be shared, and actually how we're going to share information outside of our group. And then here's some pitfalls. It does have some potential pitfalls where roles are unclear or time is of the essence. Again, I think it goes back to those times when we're in a high stress situation or where there's not a lot of time to gather input and have a PLC meeting when a decision needs to be made, particularly in times of crises. In some situations or in some cases, your group members may not have the necessary expertise to make decisions, like the examples I gave earlier. To be truly democratic, it requires sharing of all information. And again, you have to be careful about confidentiality and security. So again, it's not all about democratic leadership. That may be your comfort zone, and that may be where you operate most of the time, but you've got to be able to change gears when the time calls for it. I had a really good professor who said to me, and it's always stuck with me throughout my years, everybody's strength carried to the extreme becomes a weakness. And I really believe that's true. So if you operate in a democratic style, and that's the only place you operate, it can get you in trouble. So let's look at the delegative style or the laissez-faire style. Now, boy, guys, this one's so far out of my comfort zone. I don't even know if I can talk about it much, but that's where leaders tend to have a really hands-off approach and allow group members to make decisions. Well, it can lead to the lowest productivity among group members. And I think you have to be very, very careful in this type of leadership style. A lot of times, if you operate here, then there's no clear cuts, no clear guidelines that you need to follow. The leader tends to give all the authority to the group, but then who is supposed to be responsible for carrying out those decisions and making sure things stay on track? I think there's a time that you can do this, but wow, I just really think it's a scary place to be and to operate all the time. I think you can operate that way some, particularly when you've got a strong group of leaders. maybe, for example, you might feel comfortable in turning some issues over to your school improvement team and let them just take off with it, particularly issues that you don't have a preference one way or the other. But, I really think you still need to be in close contact with a group. You need to check in with a group, and you need to be sure, once again, if you want a certain outcome, you need to be sure that you lay out your expectations before you turn the group loose, because there's nothing worse than saying you're turning the group loose to come up with their own solutions, and then you don't accept those solutions as part of the solution that you're going to look at for a school-wide effort. A great deal of trust. Yes, indeed. You have to have a great deal of trust before you can do this. Again, there may be times when you use this. I just would say be careful. I have seen a lot of administrators really get in trouble for this being their predominant leadership style. I think there's a time and place for it, but knowing where that is and is not is key. Now, I know we had some really good chats going on there, and Dr. Stebbin, I was not able to follow that. So,
it's okay. It was Stormy learned how to spell laissez-faire, and Josh said he's from the mountains and he always thought it was lazy fair.
Oh, okay. All right. And I hope as we went through that and you go back and read these descriptors, leaders are very easy to characterize here. Again, a strong leader operates in all domains, in all styles. It's just knowing when is the right time. That's the key to
Dr.
leadership.
Revis, honestly, when you become a principal, on any given day, you'll have your dominant style, which is probably going to be Democratic, but on any given day, you will have to flow, and you'll have to know how. You will flow into these other styles, and you'll flow and come out of them throughout the day at a given moment. You just got to know how to do it and when to do it. So thanks.
One of the,
Go ahead.
One of the examples that I can give you for the laissez-faire, for example, every school has a school social group, or whatever they call it, where you decide how we're going to celebrate birthdays, and where we may decide how we're going to celebrate accomplishments or holidays as a school staff and faculty. Guys, I could have cared less about that kind of stuff. I just said, here's your budget, go to it. It doesn't matter. I was very hands-off with that kind of stuff. But that was one of few things that I felt like I was comfortable being that hands-off. Again, you don't want to be looking over people's backs either all the time. Operating in that Democratic style will probably be your predominant style, but there's time and place for all of it.
That's right. Thank you. Libby had a question. Okay, Libby.
Sorry. Yeah, I just was thinking about what you were saying about all those different types of leadership styles, and it made me wonder about, student achievement and growth. And I just wanted to know what your opinions are, which style of leadership will get, I don't know, I hate to say the most bang for your buck, but, I was thinking that, when it comes to making sure teachers are, having their teachers making sure that lessons are engaging and kids are creating having authentic learning experiences. What leadership style do you feel is best for those types of results?
You want me to go first, Dr.
Yeah,
Stedman?
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, in order for student achievement to happen, we have to have as a staff buy-in as to how we believe what instruction should look like. Okay. So you have to have buy-in for that. And, you know, we say we want to do this. Well, what does that look like when someone walks into your classroom? What should I see the teachers doing versus the students? Should I hear more student talk or teacher talk? All those kinds of things. I think you have to have buy-in. And the only way you get there is through that democratic leadership. Now, what's not up for grabs is that we're going to improve student learning. That's non-negotiable. And there can be some non-negotiables here. But you know what? Your school improvement team can also set those non-negotiables. And then collectively as a staff, this is what it looks like operationally. So, you know, to get buy-in, they've got to be there. They got to believe in it. Because if they don't, as soon as you walk out of the classroom, they're going to do whatever. And you can't be in every classroom all the time.
And remember, I think it was in 602 when you did the APTEL. And remember, well, it was a little bit in the APSL, but it was a lot in the APTEL when you did your research on teacher efficacy. Remember, and if you go back and remember your research, it's efficacy. The efficacy of a teacher many times was the result of the leadership of the school. As a principal, you have a lot of control over how teachers feel about themselves. And I think if you are that autocratic, authoritative all the time, they feel very uncomfortable. They feel that they're in a, so if you're that all the time, you're not going to, the teachers are not going to feel efficacious and highly efficacious, and that you're not going to get the results that you need from that. And then if you are that laissez-faire, then, you know, there's too much that can lead to chaos sometime, and there can be no order and no structure. And when you take the teacher working condition survey, principals are marked down many times when they may be a nice person, but there's no backbone. There's no leadership there, and that results in that. So I said all that to say this: if the efficacy is not there, then teachers are not doing what the best that they can do, because they're not at a place that they can do it to teach at their best. And if they're not teaching at their best, students are not getting their best. So what's going to be the end result? Lower student achievement. So when you look at leadership styles, you know, the democratic leans itself to being able to give you more of everything that is needed to be able to move a school forward in a positive way. And the ultimate result is, you know, higher student achievement. That's my opinion.
And I think one of the pitfalls of many new principals is that they think they have to control everything. Well, number one, you can't control everything. You have to trust your assistant principals, your key school teacher leaders. You have to empower others around you. And, you know, if democratic is your predominant leadership style, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
And based on the results, all of you are moving positively in that direction. So, as I said earlier, I have a lot of confidence in this group, a lot.
I do too, Dr. Stegman.
Thank you, Dr. Revis. That was great.
Well, thank you.
Class, thank you so much for your discussions, for your attentiveness this evening. Hope that you've gained a lot from it. I have. I've learned some things already tonight. I learned from you every time we come online. think about the things that we've talked about. Go back and look at evidence, the evidence work for the PSYOP, look at task 1 and task 2. And by next week, be prepared to talk with us about anything at that point that you're having any difficulties with, because I need to begin seeing some things in the very near future. Okay? Everybody good? Okay, guys, y'all have a great rest of your week, and reach out to me if you need to, okay?
Thank
Dr.
you.
Stetson,
Good evening.
It's Carrie's birthday.
Happy
Oh.
birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday, dear
Carrie.
Happy birthday to
you.
And many
Thank you.
more.
Oh, that's great. Y'all have a
Have a
good
good
night.
evening.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
you.
Bye.